Sera Doğramaci, welcome to Morning Hockey Shot.
Thank you for having me, Andrew McDougall.
It's good to have you on. It's good to have a chat about some hockey. It feels like forever since I've spoken to you. How is the season? First off, before I get into the Rhinos, how's the season been commentating the Rhinos games?
Oh, it's fun. It's fun. It's always fun. I mean, because I was doing the Bears home games, and obviously there's no Bears this year, but this all worked out because my family and we moved up to the Central Coast in January this year. So yeah, it kind of worked in my favor. And I've known Ben forever. So it wasn't like going into, like trying to figure out who he is or anything like that. I've known him for so long anyway. So it was like everything just lined up. So it's been great. It's been fun.
It's been a struggle again for the Rhinos. Do you find it difficult to get motivated for a commentary game every week or every home game?
Never find it hard to get motivated, but I always have a soft spot for them. So I've had a connection to the Central Coast for a while. Many years ago, I was playing for their team that was in the East Coast Super League, and so that's where I formed a lot of friendships. So even now, there are guys on this team that I'm friends with. So for me, I just we try to remove all the bias when we commentate. But sometimes I let things slip because they're my friends and I really want them to do well. Or Obi gets scored, I'm like, oh, or if someone misses a shot, I'm like, oh, come on, just put it in the back of the net. So it's not a motivation thing. I just maybe get a bit emotional on behalf of my friends.
Yeah, I totally get that. I think it's because we're so connected, everyone within hockey. You do feel that even if you're doing a role like commentary, I think you feel that connection still. I was thinking about the Rhinos, and before I hit record to record this with you, and I was thinking about their season and the previous seasons. And then I thought to myself, I'm probably not surprised at some of their results in their seasons. How do you feel about the Rhinos? Because I thought this because I think people probably think the Rhinos have sort of been around forever, but it's only into their third season since returning to the AI. Do you still feel like they're sort of catching up a little bit to the established clubs?
Yeah, I think there's a lot that goes into it, right? And some stuff is, well, I guess public and it's okay to talk about. And then there's some stuff that we're just not even going to go there. And I don't know enough that I'm not even going to touch it. So I'm backing away from all that. But I think there are people, okay, for example, so one of my best friends is DJ Jeremy. And so the initial Rhinos for him, he was too young to play. He was just a kid starting out in hockey. And for him, it was like, oh, I want to be a Rhino one day. But then there was no team for him to play on. So he was doing other stuff. And then East Coast and playing for North Stars AI and all this kind of stuff. And then the Rhinos came back. He's like, oh, I can fulfill that dream. So you've got some people that have kind of had that want to do it. And then the timing's kind of been right or whatever. There's people that have not known what the original Rhinos is and what the club means and the organization and how things operate and all that. So I think whilst they're doing better every year, certainly in terms of statistics, I think there's still a lot of just figuring things out as well, which something like that, it's going to take time.
Yeah, I think so as well. When I look at the club as well, I feel like the rebrand as well, I think was really well done to sort of modernize the club as well into their new era, into the AI. And then I look at the club and I see people like Bert Malloy and Ron Kaprowski as well. And I feel like they're in good hands. Do you feel like they are in good hands and to move up the standings eventually?
I think so. But I think, again, there's a lot that goes into it, right? Like Ron's been around for a while, so he knows how hockey works. But I think that, I guess, traditionally, because you've had Newcastle at one end and then Bears and Dogs at the other end, and you had no Rhinos, so volunteers and other stuff, they went to those clubs to help out, even if, I don't know, maybe they were from the coast, maybe they weren't, but they kind of got themselves established in those clubs. So I don't think Rhinos has enough support. So I think they could always do with a few more people just helping out and doing different roles rather than people trying to do multiple roles. But I also think that there's veterans on the team that know how things operate and they're doing their best. But they're not going to be around forever, which is possibly why there's so many of the local young kids involved. But then the flip side to that is majority of those local young kids are from Sydney. So then,
Yep.
like the Kuleshov brothers, right? And then Gustav Remler Jensen, and then Logan Brody, like all those kids, Hayden Sayers as well. So once Dogs and Bears are back, Rhinos may not have those guys, and then it's like, okay, now what? So they're not in a great position, but I think above all they need the front office staff. They need more help. I think on the bench they definitely need more help there, like in terms of just people they're helping, and then just figuring out what the future is going to look like.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about the juniors or the younger kids on the Central Coast and how many of them are there. And I know that obviously you're a goaltender as well, and we've seen Riley White earlier in the season get some opportunities alongside Oberoi. Is there how much of the young talent is there to come through and make an impact?
Not enough, unfortunately. So even if you look at the Stingrays club, so the local club for New South Wales, based on the Central Coast, we've got a 11U team right now. We've got a 13U team right now, and anyone that falls under the 15s or the 17s are playing up in Newcastle. So that's kind of got a combined team. So there's not even enough to field our own club team, which means there's not going to be enough filtering through to the Rhinos, which is why they're trying to get whatever they can from Sydney, make the most of it.
Do you think the Rhinos are starting to settle into the community as well? Because I was when I looked onto the stream, because I don't know if it was at the start of the season or it happened midway through the season. I noticed behind the goals where the entrance is, there looked like there was like a grandstand. So that they're trying to do different things, I suppose, to bring more people in or engage the community. Are the Rhinos starting to get that, or have they always had that community engagement?
I think it's getting better, right? So, and I think being in a shopping center certainly helps, because they can, just reach just the general community better and give out free tickets and merch, like all that kind of stuff. But then, on a weekend when you see the spectators lining up out the door for entry, and then there's just other people walking by, I mean, there's going to be questions like, oh, what's going on? And maybe they'll end up coming in and all that. But I think the community engagement has definitely improved. The VIP stand, there was a figure skating tournament a few weeks ago, and instead of tearing it down, they're like, well, let's just shift it over here. So I think that's great from the rink management side of things that they did that. But also because we're a small community, there's people with multiple roles. So there's people on the Rhinos who are also directly involved with the Stingrays Hockey Club. So the 11U's team, my son plays on that, so I coach. Bert's son plays on that, so he coaches. So it's great when I get to coach. But we've also got Patty Ward and Fridge as part of our crew as well. So it's like, it's perhaps the most overqualified coaching staff for 11U hockey, but we've got people that know how AIHL works and know how Rhinos works, but are also working at the grassroots level as well.
Yeah. Shifting to the season, the 2025 season, I was excited when the season started. I actually thought the Rhinos would take a little bit of a step this season, just because of, I suppose, the Sydney teams not being in the competition. I thought maybe that's going to strengthen them a little bit with the Kuleshov brothers, etc. When I look at the Rhinos, I look at the competition, I look at the top six, and most of the teams in the top six are 100 goals plus this season. And I see the statistic with the Rhinos with 71 goals, and I think to myself, they're just not scoring enough. Where have you seen the Rhinos sort of season go wrong from your vantage point as a commentator?
I don't want to say anything that is not correct, but I think when you look at the start of the season, you can't predict the whole season based on the first few weeks when you've got guys that go to Worlds and the imports aren't here yet because they haven't finished their season wherever, and a bunch of the kids that are still finishing their college hockey or wherever it is. So it's not really until kind of May, June where it's like, okay, we've all got our full rosters now. I think the unfortunate thing is that when people are looking to come to Australia and play or looking to switch clubs, and if they're looking at past history of other teams, I guess there's two thoughts to it. It might be, why would I want to go on a team where I'm possibly not going to win anything, or have the support I need to play the way I want to? Or do I want to go and be a superstar on a team that needs help? So I think for the Rhinos, they've pulled a great squad together, but we've also seen how things have kind of depleted along the way too. So unfortunately, none of the leaders that actually have a letter are playing the rest of the season. And that's not a good thing. So, you've got Captain Bert Malloy, season-ending injury, which is super unfortunate. Then you got Tyler Kabara, who came onto the team this year, alternate captain, also season-ending injury. And then David James Jeremy, personal reasons and all sorts of stuff that he's taken a step back from it as well. But then you got other people that are like in and out, and you've got a roster that's so long that esports desk can't handle it, which we had issues with that on the weekend. So I think just circumstances have not been ideal for them.
Yeah. How much is someone like, you're just talking about players that if they're going to go to a team, would they go to the Rhinos? One player who is an absolutely massive fan favorite, I'm guessing club favorite, and someone that you know well, Anand Oberoi. And every time I see the Rhinos play, I always look at the shots against, and I'm blown away about how many shots that Oberoi faces on a weekly basis and does a fantastic job. I'm guessing he likes the Central Coast area, likes the Rhinos because hasn't left yet. How important is that for the club to have someone like Anand who is happy to stay and is an absolutely outstanding goaltender?
I think, this kind of relates back to what's the goalie depth coming through. That's the first one. So every team needs a good goalie. That's where it all starts. So when you're picking your team, you need a great goalie. So I'm so glad that Anand came last year and that he loved it so much that he decided to stick around, and hopefully we'll just keep him longer. I mean, it's happened to so many imports before. Like, Bert came out here for a different hockey experience, different competition, and then he went and captained Australia. So I think to have someone like Oberoi, but also with his experience that he brings in, and then helping out the younger goalies that come to practice as well, giving back to the community. He comes to the Stingrays club practices and works with our goalies as well. I think it's huge to have just a role model like that, but also just hardest working goalie of the league. Like we saw, he's faced well over 2,000 shots, and that's in his 2 years, and that's the ones that actually just hit the net. So he's working a whole lot more than just 2,000 shots as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I just think it's important to have someone like Oberoi as the backstop with that experience in the Rhinos lineup for where they're heading, I suppose, where they are now and where they want to get to. I think Oberoi can really play that important role. There was a good article by Tristan Metcalf on Oz Hockey Media during the week just about imports and goals for imports in their teams. And when he brought up his stats with that article, the Rhinos are really low down on percentage from goals by imports. And I always look at a league like the AI, which is pretty import heavy and very heavy reliant on import scoring. Can you pinpoint where maybe that's sort of gone wrong, or where the Rhinos have sort of struggled, or how the imports haven't had that impact like they probably thought they would?
I think, again, it's just a combination of things. So you want to have strong goaltending and strong defense. And we can see because of, the amount of shots that Anand has faced. If we didn't have those imports, I don't know how many shots he would be facing per game. But also, again, because of the injuries sustained and just all these things that are happening to the Rhinos, I think some of the players up front don't necessarily have players that they're used to working with, if that makes sense. So if you've got like an import that's played a certain way and you bring another import in, but they've kind of been exposed to the same hockey, then they're going to work together and generate lots of scoring chances. So I mean, this is why the Kuleshov brothers are great, because they're brothers. That's why they work so well on the same line together. But then if you bring someone else in, then there's still that kind of figuring it out. And I mean, even on the weekend, the lines looked like they changed up just from where we were in the commentary. Just looking at the lines and seeing how they were rotating and who's stepping in where, it's like they're even changing it during the game.
Yeah. I'm guessing that the Sydney players are going to return to their clubs when the Sydney teams come back next season. I'm guessing now, I suppose, I'd love your take as well of how important the next batch of imports for 2026 are for the Rhinos. I feel like they have to really get that correct in 2026.
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's just made that assumption that all the Sydney players are going to go back. Whether they were imports or they're counted as locals, I think it's safe to assume that they're going to go back. But that's kind of, Newcastle as well, and Melbourne, like all those guys, as soon as Sydney's back, they're there. I think it's obviously important that they get some strong imports in there, but then everything else around it as well. I mean, there's some guys there that are stepping in and out for a game or two, and even in those games, they might be getting like a couple of shifts. So they're not they're young, right? So they've got to do their time. But they may not be getting the exposure that they might need. But also, I don't think with how the games are going, they're necessarily getting those opportunities. So if they didn't have high scoring, goals against, would you then put them in so that, it doesn't matter with 5 minutes to go in a game? Or if you're, it's a tight scoring game, do you risk putting them in and then you're going to lose the game? So like, I think Roddy's got a lot of hard things to try and figure out. I mean, it's an expensive hobby for us. I know some teams look after their players differently, but at the end of the day, all of these people have day jobs or they've got school or something. So it's like, well, if I'm going to spend a weekend on the road and I'm only going to get 2 shifts, why do I bother? And if that's not going to change for the following year. So there's much more complicated things than I guess a general fan might just look at. I feel for the Rhinos, a lot of things just didn't go their way this year. And then they'll start games really well, and then somehow it just ends up plummeting. But they're doing better statistically than they did last year, so we got to give them that.
Yeah, well, that was one of the things I was going to mention to you just before I let you go. Because when I watch the Rhinos, you can see some of the play and some of the games, you can see it. So they will have this.
There, right?
It's just not consistently, I suppose, for long enough, but you can see it there. And obviously you're around it a lot more than I am. Do you see the light at the end of the tunnel too? Because I can see it flickering, that light at the end of the tunnel where I feel like the Rhinos will break through.
I think so. If they can keep a core group together and bring young ones into that and show them the way and how things work and what the expectations and all that kind of stuff, if they can just stick it out for a couple of seasons, I think that's when we'll start seeing things finally coming together, or, not go to sleep in the second period or whatever it may be. I think they just need a little bit more time to work together and again, like support on all fronts. So the quality of the imports, the locals coming through, giving them the support, and then staff support, volunteer support, like all of that. It's hard for, some people just to do it on their own or just to juggle multiple jobs while they're involved in the organizations.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally agree. The Rhinos have got 5 games remaining for the Rhinos, though, 4 of them at home. And there's some really gettable games on home ice. Do you have in mind where you think how many games do you think that they could win in that homes, those 4 home games that they've got to sort of end the season and give their fans, because I've seen video footage, etc., of their fans, and they have a passionate fan base for their team.
They do.
Yeah, and I feel like even out of that 4, I feel like they could at least grab 2 wins out of those 4 home games. I know they've got Canberra and Newcastle, which will be tough, but I really feel like they're gettable games.
I mean, I'll just go out and say I would love for them to win all 4. Grab some point. I kind of never have real predictions. It's just kind of seeing where they sit, who they're up against, what does the roster look like, are there any scratches on the team from either side, to kind of, I guess, see that way how it's going to play out. And again, I mean, Rhinos they're just not in an ideal situation right now, so it's just they just got to ride it out. I mean, they're not obviously going to finals weekend, so it's like, well, make the most of it while you've got it and try to retain as much as you can for next season to want both the players and obviously the fans to keep coming back.
Yeah, absolutely. Sera, thank you for joining Morning Hockey Shot. This is being recorded on Thursday night though, so it's not actually Saturday morning. You're one of those hockey mum or sports mums.
Soccer mom on Saturday.
So I'll wish you all the best for your Saturday morning with the soccer with the kids. Thank you so much for giving up your time to, one, have a chat about the Rhinos, but also to commentate the season. It's fantastic work that you do for the Rhinos on the stream. So thank you for joining in the Morning Hockey Shot.
No, thank you so much, and thank you for everything that you do for our hockey community. It's always appreciated.